Welcome back to EngloStories, where we help you improve your English through classic tales. Today, we're exploring one of the most famous short stories in American literature, The Telltale Heart. This chilling story was written by Edgar Allan Poe and first published in 1843. Poe is known for his dark, mysterious stories that explore the human mind and its deepest fears. The Telltale Heart is perhaps his most famous work, a psychological thriller that takes us inside the mind of someone who may be going mad. What makes a person commit a terrible crime? And what happens when guilt begins to take over their mind? Can our conscience drive us to confess even when we think we've committed the perfect crime? These are the questions that Poe explores in this unforgettable tale of murder, madness, and the power of guilt. Now let's begin the story. There was a man who insisted he was not mad. In fact, he believed he was more aware of the world around him than most people. His senses were sharp, especially his sense of hearing. He claimed he could hear all things in heaven, on earth, and even in hell. This man lived with an old man who had never harmed him. The old man had been kind to him, and the narrator had no desire for the old man's money. There was only one thing about the old man that bothered him: his eye. One of the old man's eyes was pale blue with a thin covering that made it look like the eye of a vulture. Whenever that eye fell upon him, the narrator's blood turned cold. "Why should I kill him?" the man asked himself. It was not the old man who bothered me, but his evil eye. The idea of killing the old man entered the man's mind and grew stronger every day. He couldn't get rid of the thought. There was no reason for it, no hatred, no desire for wealth. Just that pale blue eye that filled him with terror. Every night around midnight, the man would slowly open the old man's door. He would insert his head very slowly through the opening, so slowly that it took him a full hour just to get his head through the doorway. Then he would open a small window in his lantern, letting out just enough light to see the vulture eye. He did this for 7 nights, but each time the eye was closed, and so he couldn't bring himself to do the deed. On the 8th night, the man was more careful than ever before. As he was putting his head in through the doorway, his finger slipped on the metal clasp of the lantern, making a small noise. The old man sat up in bed and called out, "Who's there?" The man didn't move. For a whole hour, he stood completely still while the old man sat up in bed, listening. Then the man heard something as a low, dull, quick sound. It was the sound of the old man's heart beating in fear. The heartbeat grew louder and faster. The man feared that a neighbor might hear it. And then a ray of light from the lantern fell upon the old man's eye, wide open and staring. The sight of that pale blue eye filled the man with uncontrollable rage. The man leaped into the room and dragged the old man to the floor. He pulled the heavy bed over him. The old man's heart beat for a few more moments, and then it stopped. The old man was dead. The man checked to make sure. There was no pulse. The old man was stone dead. His eye would trouble him no more. After making sure the old man was truly dead, the man carefully removed the bed and examined the body. He cut off the head, the arms, and the legs. Then he removed 3 planks from the floor and placed all the parts beneath the floorboards. He replaced the boards so carefully that no human eye could detect anything wrong. When he had finished, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and someone knocked at the door. It was 3 police officers. A neighbor had heard a scream and had reported it to the police. The man invited the officers in with confidence. He explained that he had screamed during a nightmare and that the old man was out of town. He invited the officers to search the house. He even brought chairs into the old man's room and placed his own chair directly over the spot where the body was hidden. The officers were satisfied. They chatted with the man, who answered cheerfully. But after a while, the man started feeling strange. His head ached, and there was a ringing in his ears. The ringing became clearer and louder. The man talked more and more loudly to cover the sound, but it continued to grow louder. Yet the officers didn't seem to hear anything unusual. The man talked even more loudly. He got up and paced the floor, but the sound kept getting louder. It was a low, dull, quick sound, like the sound of a watch wrapped in cotton. The man realized it was the beating of the old man's heart. It was impossible, of course. The old man was dead. But in his mind, the sound grew louder and louder until he was sure the police officers must hear it too. "Villains!" the man shouted. "Stop pretending. I admit it. Tear up the floorboards. Here, here, it is the beating of his hideous heart." And with that, the man confessed his crime, driven mad by the sound that existed only in his own guilty mind. The telltale heart teaches us about the powerful effect our conscience can have on us. Even when we think we've hidden our wrongdoings from others, guilt can consume us from within. The story shows how our minds can turn against us when we've done something terrible, forcing us to face the consequences of our actions. Poe's story also explores the thin line between sanity and madness. The narrator repeatedly claims he is not mad, yet his actions and thoughts suggest otherwise. This reminds us that sometimes people who insist they are perfectly rational may be the ones who have lost touch with reality. Additionally, the story demonstrates how obsession can lead to destruction. The narrator becomes so fixated on the old man's eye that it drives him to commit murder, ultimately leading to his own downfall. This teaches us that allowing negative obsessions to control our thoughts can lead us down dangerous paths. Did you enjoy this spine-chilling tale? If this story helped you improve your English vocabulary and comprehension, please like this video and share it with friends who are also learning English. What do you think drove the narrator to confess? Was it really the sound of the old man's heart, or was it something else? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to follow @EngloStories for more classic tales that will help you improve your English while enjoying great literature. We post new stories every day, each designed to build your vocabulary and comprehension skills. Until next time, keep reading, keep listening, and keep learning English with EngloStories.